here at ThrillerFest, and I know you're very involved in the International Thriller Writers Association and in ThrillerFest itself. Why don't you tell us about that?
In what sense? ThrillerFest or ITW, or what do you want to know exactly?
I guess start with ThrillerFest, and then you could go into ITW.
So, ThrillerFest is the premier conference for thriller writers, but we also have other people who write suspense and mystery who come here too, and other genres, horror writers and things like that. Every year we gather in New York City for a week, for 5 days, and we have Craft Fest and Master Craft Fest and Pitch Fest and Thriller Fest, and anybody who's interested in learning about the thriller genre and learning their craft and being on panels and interacting with people, we just come here. We call it summer camp for thriller writers, and we all just have a great time.
And you're on the board of International Thriller Writers Association, correct?
Yes, I am. I'm the Vice President of Technology, so I'm responsible for all of our websites and how they look. I'm responsible for all the emails that go out to our members and to other people that we communicate with. I'm also responsible for, I publish the Big Thrill, which is our online magazine. It's free, and every month we feature all of our members who have new books coming out. We do interviews with them, and we feature their books in the Big Thrill, and that goes out to thousands upon thousands of subscribers, as well as we get over 1.5 million hits on our website each month to our magazine.
Wow.
So it's a big thing, and our members really appreciate it, and readers in the thriller world really like it because they get to find out about new books that are coming out, but they also get to read interviews with their favorite authors.
Yeah, oh, that's nice. So it's like a behind-the-scenes look at...
Right, and we have over 60 volunteers who write for our magazine. So it's really nice. Without them, we couldn't be doing it. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
So.
And you're an author as well. You have a book, Predator, out now. Why don't you tell us about that?
Predator is a young adult novel, but it's also crossed over into the adult market, which is really nice. And it's about a 16-year-old girl who goes to Ireland for the summer to study bog bodies with her dad. He's a famous scientist, after the death of her brother, who got killed in the war.
Oh, wow.
And she comes across a very unusual find, and while she's out playing around in the bog when she shouldn't be. And her dad discovers that lycanthropy is not a supernatural curse, but it's really a genetic mutation. And so there's a group of mythological group of creatures called the Benedani, who were creatures who descended into hell to fight evil in mythology. I've put a modern-day twist on them and made them alive today, and they are now in Ireland, and they need to keep the technology that her dad has discovered buried and hidden because it will devastate the world. But the U.S. government wants to use it to create super soldiers, and a rogue group of soldiers want to use it to turn themselves into unstoppable killing machines. So Bree and her boyfriend, who she falls in love with while she's in Ireland, they come back to the United States about halfway through the book, but she must inject herself with an untested version of her dad's gene therapy in order to become a werewolf so that she can stop all this stuff from happening.
Oh, wow. That sounds really interesting.
So it's a lot of mythology, suspense, science, thriller, all mixed up in one.
Did you have to do a lot of research for this?
Yeah, I talked to a world-famous geneticist at the Max Planck Institute in Germany who helped me figure out how to figure out the genetics aspect of this. So if we actually had werewolf DNA, how could somebody really inject themselves with this, and how would it work, and how could it go horribly wrong, because it does go horribly wrong at some point. So he told me how to figure out how it would work so it would be plausible for today's world. And then I had to talk to people who live in and around the bogs in Ireland, and I had to find out how to blow up a car.
So you traveled to Ireland?
I didn't travel to Ireland, but I found people who live there, and I talked to them. I had to find out exactly what it was. I would love to go there, though. But I did talk to people who live in that area so I could make it realistic. I also had somebody tell me how to blow up a car, and I had somebody else tell me how to get through security at Shannon Airport in Ireland, who works there. But just enough information to make it plausible, not to get anybody really in trouble who could, do things.
Right,
and things like that. So I had a lot of research. I wanted to make sure that the Ireland characters, the Irish characters, there's 2 of them, I didn't have them speaking with accents, obviously, because it's a book, but I dropped in a few words here and there, like stone versus pound, or film versus movie, things that they would make it authentic to how they speak. So I enlisted somebody.
Like American vernacular.
Right. So occasionally here and there you'll see those things, but I enlisted the help of somebody who lives in Ireland to help me make it a little more realistic so that the language was proper, but not a ton of it, just enough to make it give it the flavor.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now, you write a lot of different genres, and you write books for teens and adults. How do you have to do anything specific to sort of switch gears when you're writing that, or does it just sort of come naturally?
I don't actually consciously think about whether I'm going to write for teens or for adults. I think a story comes to me, and it depends on the age of the protagonist, where I'm writing it for. So Predator, I had a 17-year-old girl and her boyfriend, and so it was naturally a young adult novel. But for a lot of the short stories I write, they tend to be adults because they're more in the horror, thriller, suspense, and a little more hardcore type stuff. So I think it's just based on the story for me and where it falls and whether how old the protagonist is and how intensive things are in that sense.
Do you think that's typical, that an author probably doesn't think that much about the age of the audience and just more about the story, or do you think that's something more unique to you?
I think if you're a young adult author and that's what you do, you think, I'm going to write a young adult story, I need to have my protagonist a certain age, now what story am I going to write, kind of thing. If you're an adult thriller writer, you're going to do the same thing but come up with adult protagonists. For me, it's more, what do I want to write and what's next, although I am writing another YA book now. But it's more, I have to have the story, and okay, so how old are my protagonists going to be, kind of thing, and what's the appropriate age for the story? Who would it fit, kind of thing. So I kind of come in backwards, but I think as my career continues to progress, I'll probably do it the other way more.
Oh, okay. So. And we were chatting before the interview about how writing can be sort of a solitary career, but you're involved in so many different writers groups where you all get together and sort of help each other. Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, obviously the International Thriller Writers is a great organization, but also every week I meet a bunch of friends of mine who are published authors for the most part. There's one or two in there who aren't. And we meet at Wegmans, and we go up in the cafe. I'm plugging Wegmans, yes. And we go up in the cafe, and we sit with our laptops open, and we all sit there and write together. And then over lunch we talk about problems we're having with our books or questions we might have for each other, and we help each other, and occasionally we'll interrupt each other also if we're having issues. So we do that so we each get out of our houses and we help each other. And we're all with different agents, we're all with different publishers, we all write different genres, so it's kind of fun. And
this is once a week?
This is once a week, but we do this all year long. And people float in and out based on their schedules if they're away on vacation and things like that. And then I'm also involved in a group called the Philly Liars Club, and it is an offshoot of the Writers Coffee House that Jonathan Mayberry had started. And Jonathan's a part of our group as well, although he moved to California recently. And we are a group of published writers, and we support libraries, independent bookstores, and other writers and schools and things like that. And so once a month we also run a writers group at our local Barnes & Noble, and there's actually two in the Philadelphia area. We do one in another place as well, and where it's open to anybody who wants to come in, and it's free, and we meet the last Sunday of the month, and we talk about the business of writing, so what's going on in the industry, what everybody knows about what's going on, and then we talk about some craft also. But we spend 2 hours talking about writing, whether it be craft or business, and then we spend an hour socializing with whoever wants to stay and talk. And so there's writers of all levels, from the people who have never even written a word but want to write, up to New York Times best-selling authors, and we all meet. So the Liars Club runs that. We take turns running the meeting. So sometimes there's two of us, sometimes there's three of us, sometimes there's five that show up, but it's a great group of people, and we support each other as well, which is really nice.
That sounds really valuable.
Yeah.
Are there Liars Clubs in other cities?
There's not at the moment that we know of. There may be other groups that call themselves that. I don't know, but there are other writers' coffee houses in other cities that are offshoots of us at this point. So Jonathan started one on the West Coast when he went out there and moved.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's about 4 or 5 of us from the Liars Club who are here at ThrillerFest this year, so which is nice.
Yeah, that's fun. I could see that just being so nice that you're writing by yourself all day, and then you get to go and talk to other writers. And
yeah, it's great to have that support group. It really is, and just have people who know what's going on. And because we all, we talk to our agents, we talk to our publishers, we talk to our editors, but they talk to theirs, and so it's good to get like an overall, what's going on in just not your little part of the woods, but what's going on in the industry. You get a bigger picture of things. And we like to help newer writers who are trying to establish themselves to figure out if they don't know how to write a query letter, or they don't know how to fix something in their book, or they don't know how to do whatever. We'll help them figure that out because we all had to learn somehow. And somebody taught us. So we want to give back, you know.
Oh, that's really nice.
So it's good.
Thanks so much for speaking with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure.